A very good morning to all of you students. Today we are going to begin with the chapter supply. Supply. What do we mean by the word supply? Supply and demand. They are both contrasts to each other. When the word supply comes, automatically comes in our mind whatever is being supplied in the market. Whatever we are producing is being supplied in the market. Students, supply could be done by any manufacturing firm or trading firm. Rather, the purpose of supply is only that the goods should reach to the customer or the ultimate consumer. Supply. As per our economics, it refers to the quantity of goods which a firm is ready to sell at a given price and in a given period of time. For example, we are ready to sell 1000 units of bed sheets at the rate of rupees 500 each this year. If you remember, the word demand also said the same, but the difference was the customer was demanding over there, the consumer was demanding the goods over there. However, over here we are saying the firm is ready to sell at a given price and in a given period of time. What the firm is offering to the customers becomes your supply. As we remembered, there are two kinds of demand. In the similar way, we have two kinds of supply also. The very first is individual supply, which refers to the quantity of a good, which highlighting the word single firm. Single firm is ready to sell at a given price and in a given period of time. When we are only talking about one single firm, it becomes our individual supply. However, when we say about all the firms all together, it will become our market supply. Firm A is willing to supply 200 units of electric fans at the rate of rupees 600 per fan this year. This becomes your individual supply. Individual supply schedule. Students, if you remember, we used to have two kinds of demand. In the similar way, we have individual supply schedule and market demand, market supply schedule also. When it comes to individual supply schedule, it will be the tabular presentation of the prices along with the quantity supplied. Students, for this supply, we need to understand the ultimate goal of the producer is to maximize the profit. So if the price will increase, he will try to supply more in the market in attainment of more and more profit. So the price increases from 1 to 2. He will increase his supply from 10 to 20. 2 to 3 supply again will be increased from 20 to 30. So in a way, we are saying that price and quantity supplied are directly related to each other. Whereas if we remember, the price and quantity demanded, they were inversely related to each other. So as I told you, demand and supply work in contrast. So over here we can say that price and quantity supplied are directly related to each other. And when we plot all these points, if we remember, price on the y-axis and quantity on the x-axis, and jot down all these points on one single quadrant and join all those points, we get one individual supply curve, which is the graphical presentation of the individual supply schedule which we discussed in the previous slide. So individual supply curve, as you all can see, is a positive slope. It is moving upward from left to right, indicating a positive and a direct relationship between your price and quantity supplied. Moving on to the next. Price and quantity supplied are directly related. More are supplied at higher prices and less at a lower price. So the supply curve will always slope upward from left to right, as I told you. Next, we have market supply. As I told you, individual supply discusses about one single firm. The market supply talks about all the firms together. So it refers to the total quantity of a commodity which all the firms in a market together are willing to sell at a given price and in a given period of time. So price of umbrella is rupees 200 per unit. Students, this is one single price of one commodity. At this price, what all the firms are willing to sell in the market will be our market supply. For example, A wants to sell 100, B wants to sell 150, and C wants to sell 200. So at this prevailing price, rupees 200 per unit, 100 plus 150 plus 200, which counts to be 450 units, becomes our market supply. So for various prices, when we are going to schedule or we are going to write down the tabular presentation, we get one market supply schedule. So what is the market supply schedule? It is the tabular presentation of various quantities being supplied by all the producers in the market at prevailing prices. For example, at price 1, A A has supplied 10, B has supplied 5, and C has supplied 15. So in all together, the market supply becomes 30 at price 1. In the similar way, at price 2, A has supplied 20, B has supplied 15, C has supplied 25. So all together, it becomes 60 as the market supply at price 2. If you remember, in market demand, we discussed about the horizontal summation of all demands. In the similar way, market supply is also exactly the horizontal summation of all the supplies or all the supplies existing in the market to bring about one market supply at the prevailing price. And when we jot down all these points, what do we get? We get the market supply curve, which is again the upward sloping curve from left to right, indicating a positive relationship between price and quantity supply. Market supply curve is flatter than the individual supply curve because market supply is the horizontal summation of the quantities supplied by individual firms. It is calculated by summing up all the individual supplies all together. That is why it is the flatter curve as compared to your individual supply curve, which is a steeper one. Moving ahead. Next is law of supply. Now, what do we mean by the word law of supply? In the similar way we have done law of demand, we have law of supply also. According to the law of supply, other things remaining the same, the supply of a good expands when price rises and contracts when price falls. If you remember, we did law of demand, which used to say that price and demand are inversely related to each other, but over here, price and supply are directly related to each other. As price increases, quantity supplied increases. In the similar way, if price falls, quantity supplied falls. So this is the law of supply. Proceeding. Supply schedule, as we discussed about what is the supply schedule and the supply curve also. Assumptions. Students, as we know, there are few assumptions on the law of demand also. In the similar way, we have few assumptions of the law of supply as well. Now, what are those assumptions? Prices of related goods remain constant. Price of inputs, that is the price of raw materials, do not change. Technology remains constant. There is no change in the goal of the firm and there is no change in government policy also. We will discuss each of these in greater details. These are basically the factors which are affecting the supply. We will discuss all these in the next upcoming video. Thank you so much, students. Have a great day.